Hey, you're listening to the Heidi Rue Show podcast. I'm Heidi, if you didn't know. I'm an ex-radio host that is now a full-time voice talent, actress and host. Plus, my husband and I own Atlanta Voiceover Studio, which is a recording facility, but it's also a VO training place. And in the past, I've had a party blog called Parties for Pennies. I've created and pitched a lifestyle talk show, and I love interior design, food, fashion, baking, fitness, and all of the self-help books that I listen to on Audible, if I'm being totally honest. My motto is don't stop, get it, get it. Of course, unless you need a nap. And you can see the sign, if you're watching on YouTube, it's right behind me, the neon sign. That's why this podcast is here, to share other stories of female leaders, creators, and innovators. Because whatever you do, you need encouragement. You need support, and you need to know that you're not alone. So that's why the Heidi Rue Show podcast exists. And today's guest is someone that completely lives out the don't stop, get it lifestyle. It's Renee Montgomery, and her list of sports achievements is could take up a whole podcast, seriously. But right now, she's currently the point guard for the WNBA Atlanta Dream Team. She's been a star basketball player. Since high school, she led her school to the state championships. She played for University of Connecticut Huskies, led them to the national championship, then on to the WNBA with the Minnesota Lynx, Connecticut Sun, Seattle Storm, and in 2015, when she was playing for the Minnesota Lynx, they won the WNBA national championship. In 2018, she broke the league record of the most three-pointers made in a half. And she is not stopping. She's acting and she's hosting, and she's created a foundation called the Renee Montgomery Foundation to help teach kids lessons through sports. So what you're probably wondering, and what I'm wondering, is how in the world has Renee achieved so much, and what lessons has she learned along the way that we can all apply? Because here's something about Renee that you may not know. She's not 6 foot. She's what she calls a life-size person. And so we're going to talk to her about how was she able to overcome that in the sports that really a lot of people just think of as taller people sports. Probably sounded very unsportsy talk, but I'm not a sports person. But Renee is, and I can't wait to hear Renee's story and share that with you. So Renee, I want to go back. Not way back.
How far back are we going?
But I want to know, what was it like growing up in the Montgomery household? Just paint the picture for me.
Oh, the Montgomery household. Well, it's all girls. So I have 2 older sisters. So my Diddy that's what I call dad. So he was basically the only man in the house, but he's like an alpha male. So it was fine because he probably couldn't have any other men in the house. But no, growing up, it was interesting because my family, my parents are strict, but they're so playful as well. So, as long as you're doing the things you're supposed to do, it's fun and games, but they're not with the games. School was not an option. So my dad's an engineer. My mom was a college professor. So school, that's not that's nothing to play about. We have to make sure we have our schoolwork done. Typically B's are not a thing in our household. So my sister went on to be a doctor. My other sister an accountant. So I'm the loser of the So I just went and got a 4-year degree at UConn and went on to the whole, basketball thing. But yeah, I'm from a family of academics. Yeah. So I would say I'm the jock.
Did you feel pressure with that? Or was that just this is just how it is?
Yeah, it was just, I think when you're young and you don't know any better, that's the norm. Yeah. So I didn't even know that was not normal. I didn't know. My mom she also had a tutoring business and everything like that. I didn't know things like that are not normal. So to us, going to school, I started taking AP classes in 10th grade. I didn't really know that was not the normal thing to do. So my sisters did it. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's my turn to take the AP classes. So that's kind of how things went. In our family.
So did your mom, as a professor, I'm sure she taught you a lot, just good studying habits and everything. Do you remember some of the things that she taught you that really helped?
Yeah, so with my parents, both of them, my daddy writes a to-do list every single day of his life. You could literally have a mountain of papers. Every single day he writes a to-do list because he it keeps you on task. So I've obviously taken over that trait. I do one every morning too, and things you didn't get done yesterday, you move to the top of the list today. And I think the preparation is what kind of taught me the most. So they taught me how to prepare. They taught me how to break things down, how to read and go about it. So they taught me the non-lazy way. So, like in school, usually you like read till you find the answer, write the answer down, then look at the next question, read to find that answer. So I kind of learned good habits that now I don't even really think about. So I read the whole thing first, and then I'll go through to try to get the answer. So just things like that, where it also helped me in sports. Because I don't.
How's that?
In sports, I don't cut corners. So if we have a scouting report, I'm going to read it. Even if I know the players, I've been in the league 11 years. So typically, if I look at a scouting report and it's this player I've been playing against for 10 years, I typically would know what they do. But I was just, because I'm so used to doing something a certain way, I still read the whole scouting report. I still go watch the whole film work because it's just a certain way I like to prepare.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of us that aren't exactly sports aficionados, what exactly is a scouting report?
Okay, so a scouting report, you get a scouting report before every single game you play.
Okay.
And it basically tells you, like, this person likes to do this. So Heidi likes to go to her right, and Heidi likes to shoot jump shots in the corner. And so I typically know, since I played against Heidi for 10 years, that I know that's what Heidi likes to do. But I still read it just in case you might have added something to your game last year. You might have done something different, or there's something that you might be filling yourself with now. Heidi likes to spin. So the scouting report.
I'm a spinner.
So the scouting report basically tells you the player tendencies.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I had no idea. You learn something new every day.
You're welcome.
Okay, so for a family that is really academic, not as much sports, like how
we were actually both.
Basketball. Oh, you were both.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
you
that
guys
there's
are
that
just
part
the
too.
most amazing family.
No.
Okay.
Well, they are. My Diddy played football in college.
Okay.
That's where he met my Snook. So I'm country. My Snook and my Diddy, they met my Diddy's like first week on campus. And they've been together, married 40 plus years now. But he played football in college. My sister, oldest sister, everybody played basketball.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how I got into it. My older sisters were playing basketball, and I was like, oh, I want to do everything they do. I'm the youngest, so you want to do everything. And then they started to run track, so I want to run track too. And then one became a majorette, and one became a cheerleader, and I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good.
I'm sitting this one out.
Yeah, I'll just stick to track and basketball. But so that's kind of how it went in my family. Like they didn't really, I think my sister was kind of prissy. So I think they kind of bribed my middle sister to play because she didn't like to mess her hair up and all that. But so they kind of had to, so she's the one that went on to be a cheerleader in college and everything. So she found her groove.
Yeah. Do you remember, or was there a moment that was kind of this magic moment for you in basketball where you thought, okay, wait a minute, this is really, like, especially you saying that when it came to cheerleading and everything else, you're like, no, that's not for me. Was there a moment when you were just like, okay, I know my purpose, like I know what I'm supposed to do here?
I would say there were multiple moments. One of the first moments I remember is like getting my a college letter. So, the college coaches will send you letters in the mail, and the letters are literally, they probably send 100 a day out. It's like just a quote, and it says, from Coach Ariema, and it has like a quote, and it's just like the fact that, wait, first of all, I'm receiving mail, because when you're young, it's like, well, people don't get mail anymore. But when it was cool when you were younger to receive some mail. So I was receiving.
Are like, wait, what? What's that?
Yeah, they don't even. Yeah, they have no idea about going to the mailbox. That was fun, looking for toys. But I don't know. It was interesting because I got my first letter in the mail, and I was like, wow. So college coaches know who I am. And then there was a moment where I was playing AAU, and I looked around the court, and there was like 30 different college coaches like sitting on the court trying to watch us play, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of crazy.
Wow.
And then I would say the last thing was because I'm from West Virginia, so it's small town, and that's the reason we have to play AAU, because how will the coaches even know? They're not coming to West Virginia to see me. Like, so AAU kind of got us out there. And for those that don't know what AAU is, it's where you basically take like the best players in that state. For us, it was in that state because we're small, and you travel around in the summertime to play against other AAU teams. Yeah. And there was different circuits. There's Nike tournaments, Adidas tournaments, nationals. And so that's how basically we got on the map. And then I would say the final moment where I was like, okay, I can do this, is when I was a McDonald's All-American. Because that, like I said, it hadn't really been done in West Virginia. So to be one of the first people to do something in the whole state was kind of like, first of all, I didn't know I could do it because I've never seen anybody do it before.
Yeah.
So that was the difficult part.
It's so amazing because when I look at your like accomplishments, I'm like, I mean, you are exceptional. Like, you are just an exceptional person. But from how you're talking right now, it just sounds like you are a hard worker, you're dedicated, and then it took a while even for you to go, oh, yeah, I guess I am exceptional. Is
absolutely.
that right?
Absolutely. And for me, I'm really small. So I'm life size. So I'm normal size for life, but so I'm life size. But in the athletic world, I'm tiny. So in the athletic world, they call me like bite size. So I have to tell them, look, the planes and everything were made for me. I go into the store, I can buy clothes. You guys can't. Like, you know, they look at me like I'm crazy every day. And I'm like, you guys, I'm normal. Yeah. So it's actually interesting coming back into the normal world because I've been submerged in the athletic world for 10 years. And so now when I see people and they're like, oh, yeah, you're a good height. And I'm like, I am. Yeah, you know, I have to like readjust to life. So so it is. But for me, being so small, I had to like do extra. So I had to make sure that I can shoot better than most. I can dribble well because I don't have the athletic ability or the size. So I have to do things to overcompensate for that.
Did you ever feel like that was a hindrance?
I always thought, boy, if I was 6 feet, they wouldn't be able to handle me. No, but, you know, honestly, if I was 6 feet tall, I might not even have the work ethic I had. Like, I think being undersized my whole life kind of gave me that chip on my shoulder. And one of the things that I'm known for in the pros is that I'm one of the most consistent people. I'm always going to be early. I'm always going to have a positive attitude. I'm pretty much always going to control my controllables. So that's typically why I've been put in a position of power as being the captain and stuff, because those are things that I can control. And me with my size, I can't control my size, but I can control other things.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you had mentioned in another article was about how much you've learned about discipline through sports. And I totally agree. I think sports has such great life lessons. I mean, even just a matter of you want to try and run a 5K. You know what I mean? Just training for that and learning that there's so many life lessons. If you could share a blueprint of like how to be more disciplined, like how to achieve goals based on what you've learned through basketball, what would that look like?
One of the first things I would do, you know, when somebody like writes a goal or a New Year's resolution, it's this big lofty goal, and that's great because that's the end goal. But I always try to make steps to get to my goal. So that's one of my main things that I do. Okay, so I want to be in entertainment. I want to do acting. What's the first step? You know, it's not like just going to happen and fall in my lap. So I'm really meticulous about the plan to get to the goal. So if you want to run a 5K, well, you need to first start eating right. You need to get your body right. So the first things that you can do is go to the grocery store. That's easy. You can do that today. So what can I do today? I can go to the grocery store. What can I do today and tomorrow? Start to work out. You're not going to run a 5K overnight. So I always try to just create a plan of action for myself, because I feel like that keeps me on task. And like I told you, we make our list. So make a list. And I think like I'm a firm believer in writing stuff down and watching it come into fruition. So I write it down, write my to-do list, and then every day you start to see a little difference. You can see it before people can see it. So, you know, that starts to be my motivator when I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, this was really hard yesterday, but it's a little bit easier today. So those kind of things motivate me. Yeah.
What about, have you ever gotten discouraged because there's sometimes too where you write those small goals and you just feel like, one, either you're not getting there fast enough.
Right.
The timing can be a big tricky thing for us of like, oh, we're not getting there.
Yeah. You want results overnight.
Yeah. But then also life stuff happens. And so do you ever get discouraged, or what do you do when you have that to-do list going for the day and a million things happen and nothing gets done? Or
Derails my list.
Yep.
No, it happens. And that's the thing. And that's the thing about like, how bad do you want it? A lot of times it's hard. Like it's not easy. It wasn't easy becoming a professional athlete. It was really hard. And when I talk to little kids, I think they want to hear like, oh yeah, everybody can do it. I'm like, everybody can't do it because everybody's not going to be disciplined enough. But everybody has the ability to do it, because if you choose to be so it's a choice, you know, it's a choice that we have to make every day. And I think choosing a certain way to go about things is a choice you make. So when I tell kids, like, I'm small, they tell me all the time when I go talk to kids, they're like, you're smaller than I thought you were going to be. I'm like, yeah. And I'm just finished my 11th year. So how do you feel about that? You know, because it's good for them to see me, because I'm not just your typical athlete. Like when I walk into a room, people aren't like, oh, that must be a WNBA player.
She must play basketball.
Yeah, I don't get that. So when I walk into the room, it's usually the reverse. Like, oh, you play? Oh, wow, you okay? Yeah. I thought you guys were taller than that. I'm like, they are, you know. I'm not. So I'm kind of a good example for kids, because I wasn't really born with super like physical attributes that make me an athlete. It was everything I put into myself, or I should say my parents, because they had a big role in it.
Yeah. Well, that actually leads to the next thing I was going to ask you about, which is the Renee Montgomery Foundation. Yeah. So this is a foundation that helps teach kids lessons, life lessons through sports,
yes.
right? Tell me how that got started. Like what gave you the vision for that?
So being from West Virginia, we have no pro sports. Like no NBA, NFL, hockey, nothing. The most we have is a semi-pro baseball team. So like I said, growing up, it's hard to envision something, especially as a kid, and kids have great imaginations, but it's hard to envision something that you don't see anyone around you doing.
Yes.
So when I was younger, I mean, my parents basically was in our ear. My sister wanted to be a doctor, so they're in her ear like, yeah, you can be a doctor. So they're instilling it into us that even though in West Virginia, there's not very many minority doctors. Right. So my sister, especially female, so my sister was going into a field where she was going to be like one of the very, very few, but they still were, you know, pushing it into her. Yeah, do it. Like, yeah, okay, good. You're going to be a doctor. And even for me, they're like, you want to play pro? Or my goal was to get a scholarship. So you want to go D1? Okay, no problem. But you better work every day after you do your homework, you know. So they were instilling that into me. Everybody doesn't have parents that do that. So the things they taught me, I wanted to kind of share the wealth almost, because I think my parents, I don't even know if they know their system, but it works, you know. So I just wanted to share. There's certain things that you can do in sports and you learn in sports that I think carry over into any lifestyle, as far as having confidence in yourself. Everywhere you go, you're going to have your own confidence, because there's always going to be people that want to bring you down. There's always going to be difficult situations. So you have to have your confidence in yourself. You need to learn how to work with people, be a good teammate. No matter what job you have, even if you're a boss, you have to know how to talk to your employees. So you have to have discipline. I think the more discipline, there's certain things you hear most successful people say, and it starts with discipline, where they're doing this and they're doing that, and it's every single day. So these are things that in sports, they're staples, but if people would translate them into life, I think you could be successful as well.
You know, you've won a lot. But there's also been times where you've lost.
Oh, yeah. Right? I remember those more. I remember those way more.
How do you deal with losses?
Oh, it was hard, because in college, even in high school. So in high school, I won 3 out of the 4 years. In college, you know, we won a lot of games. We only won one. I say only because UConn now is known for winning, but we only won one national championship. But it was different because during the season, we didn't lose very often. We just we'd lose in the Final Four, maybe lose 2-3 times a year. Then I got to the pros, and it's like, we lost on Monday, we lost on Wednesday. Okay, here comes Friday, we lost again. So that was like a shock to my system. Like when I got to the pros, I was like, woo, like you don't, and in college you play like once a week, you know, so I can pout for 3 days about my loss, and then I can get back to it, you know. And when I say pout, that means just in my room, because at practice I'm not pouting. But in the pros, it's like you played on Monday, you have another game on Wednesday, so tomorrow we're preparing for the next game. So that was kind of hard for me to adjust to, like, okay, so that happened. And just getting ready for the next one. It's not easy. I'm one of those players that I just don't take losing well. I'm getting better at it with time. When I say getting better at it, I'm getting better at like not over analyzing every single thing. But I think that's kind of what also helps me as an athlete.
Yeah. Okay, so next steps.
Yeah.
I know that you've already talked about this before in other platforms, but your heart is set on acting, and that's been something that you've been kind of dreaming about for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the things that you're doing right now to prepare. I know that you talked about, like, I need to think about what's after sports, what's after basketball.
Yeah, so the world probably thought I was crazy. In 2017, my team with the Minnesota Lynx, we won a championship. And then in 2018, I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to Atlanta. And everybody was like, what? Because at that time, Atlanta hadn't been in the playoffs. They weren't doing very well. So it's kind of like a, what are you doing moment. I knew exactly what I was doing, but people didn't know. But it was time, I felt like. Not that I don't want to win anymore, not that we're not going to win in Atlanta, but I felt like this was a good time to branch out and try to work on things while I'm playing basketball. So me taking steps, I'm like, the first thing I need to do is take improv and acting classes, because not only do I want to act, but I want to do hosting. I want to be like Heidi, so I want to do things.
You're already,
I want to do things like that. So I wanted to be prepared. So last year was kind of my preparation year, in a sense that there wasn't a lot of stuff going on, but it was me getting ready for basically this year where things kind of took off. And actually, I'm going to break something. You heard it here first.
What? Okay.
I actually just got the color commentating gig for the Atlanta Skyhawks. It's the Hawks G League affiliate team. So I'll be doing that this season, which is pretty cool. Thank you.
Renee, that is awesome.
Thank you. So that hasn't even been released yet, but it's happening. It's happening. So that was exciting. But like I said, last year was kind of my preparation year. Even being on NBA TV this year, almost every Tuesday, it's been like, so it's been really good, and I felt like I was prepared because of what I did last year.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's another thing that is a big dream of yours, right?
What's
you know
that?
what I'm gonna say? Dancing with the Stars.
Oh yes, I want to dance with some stars, and I need you guys when I do, because I like to speak things into existence.
Yes.
When I do, I need you guys to be nice to me.
Yep.
I'm an athlete.
I'm gonna be voting. Crazy.
Please vote for me. But no, I think that would be fun, just because I dance all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to translate over at all, because this is like real dancing.
Yeah.
I dance like, ooh, I can cut a rug. But they are like,
it's called
dancing.
personality dancing. That's what
Yeah.
I like to. You bring a little
Okay.
personality, a little
Yes.
Renee to the dance floor.
Oh,
and
I
that's
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm a professional personality dancer. Okay, if that's what it's called, I'm a professional at it.
Exactly.
I dance everywhere, but when I get on Dancing with the Stars, they're gonna be like, okay, no. Okay, great, no. So
I love it. Okay, so everyone that is listening, we need to write in Dancing with the Stars. Not write in. Nobody writes in. Right
Tag
anymore.
them, whatever. Yeah.
DM them, whatever.
Blow them up.
Seriously, and then we'll have to vote. Okay,
That would be
one
awesome.
last question for you before you go.
Okay.
What does success look like for Renee Montgomery?
I think success for me means continually taking the next step. So it's going to be different things. It's going to be, wow, so now I'm a co-host on this show. Next step, maybe get my own show. Or next step, act in this. Or I feel like I'm going to be someone that always feels like they're ever evolving, and I'm always chasing my next goal. That's why it's hard for me to even, when you say, like, you've been so successful, and I'm still thinking, like, well, I could have won more. I could have done more. I still have more time. So for me, it's always the next thing, which I know is probably a bad thing, because I need to stop and smell the roses. But I'm always looking for my next achievement.
What's that forward momentum, which is great, and I see that in you. So I'm excited just to jump on that journey with you and see where the forward momentum takes you. But Renee, thank you so much for not only being here on the podcast and sharing your story, but being such a great example to so many people. We don't have kids, but I have a mentee, and like people like you, I want her to see some amazing people like you. So thank you very much. And again, if you want to follow Renee, because you need a tag, Dancing with the Stars,
please
you got
do.
to tag Renee. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, then I'll have all the information linked up in the show notes.
Perfect. Heidi, you're awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Heidi Rue Show podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch the next one, and make sure you hit that bell. And if you'd like to listen via the podcast platforms, you can find those below. We would love to hear from you. Join in on the conversation on Instagram or Facebook. And I hope this episode encouraged you. Don't stop, get it, get it.